Hi, we are the Lillis family. My
Hi.
name is Ryan Lillis.
My name is Molly.
My name is Ashton. And my name is Emma.
And we want to welcome you to this Sunday morning at Creekside Church, family. And one thing we were thinking about is what have we learned or liked or not liked about shelter in place. So we were all going to share our little piece, and I'll share mine. Is that one thing I don't like is I miss community. I miss being in community. I miss being with people, and especially our church community, but just people as well. One thing I like is I like the chance to slow down a lot and think about things and reflect through things in my life has been good. So that is myself.
One thing I missed is my friends, and I really like swimming with my family. And one thing I've liked is playing board games with my family.
Yeah. And I have to curtail on that. I think the biggest blessing of all of this is just the extra family time that we've had and the time of bonding together. And really just the time, like what Ryan was saying, of just reflecting and taking more time of reading and meditating and just enjoying each other and friendship with each other and relationships. So we've taken full advantage of that, and it's really been a blessing. And I think for me, it's going to be hard to get back into normal life once we are released, as Emma says. What do you call it? Not shelter in place, but anyway, I don't remember, but that's okay.
Last things, just so one quick update or note, July 22nd from 6:30 to 7:30, Creekside Church, we are having a drive-through communion. First one maybe ever, but we're going to have, you can come anytime between 6:30 and 7:30, park in the parking lot, someone will pray with you and give you communion, and you can take communion and then go on about your merry way. So yeah, that is going to be on July 22nd from 6:30 to 7:30. So enjoy the Sunday morning. We miss you all. We love you all. Look forward to getting back with you. And we hopefully will see you in maybe a month
Or two.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Bye.
Bye!
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in this place, and I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. And you are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship My God, that is who you are. Declare, sing it, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Break it down. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never, come on, sing it out. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Oh, you never stop. Well maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Sing it one more time. Well maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And 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 that is who you are. Say that's who you are.
That is who you are.
And that is who you are. That is who you are. One more time. That is who you are. That is who you are. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. And I searched the world, but it couldn't feel me. A man's empty praise and treasure that fade, and never enough. Well, you came along, put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. When I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws, Lord, you see them all, and you still call me your friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain, yeah, is the God of the valley, yeah. Better than you, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. One more time, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing, yeah, yeah. Better than you. There's nothing, yeah. Nothing is better than you. Come on. You turn mourning to dancing, yeah. You give beauty for ashes, yeah. You turn shame into glory. Come on. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing, yeah, yeah. You give beauty for ashes, yeah, yeah. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who cares. You give grace. You turn grace into garden. You turn bones into armor. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who cares. You turn graves. You turn graves into garden. You turn bones into armor. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who cares. You're the only one who cares. You're the only one who cares. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There is nothing, and nothing is better than you.
Aloha there, Creekside. It's been a while since we had a chance to chat. Last time I left you with the exhortation of hold fast and fight through the storm. So today I want to explore the expression let go. It seems like with the season that we're in, we've been given an opportunity, like there's this big, huge reset button been put in front of us. And you'll remember there's this old saying that sometimes to discover new lands, you've got to let go of seeing the shore, lose sight of that. And for all of us, this letting go of what we think we know or what has been norm has been difficult. But these are days where clearly we have seen how little control we actually have over our lives. And yet, one of the paradoxes that I've observed is that all of creation seems to be thriving. It's almost like creation has had a Sabbath. The air is cleaner, the water is cleaner. I am told there are more fish showing up in Hawaii and closer to the shore than there ever has been. I'm hearing different birds in my backyard than I've heard any spring or summer before. And yet creation is thriving seemingly because you and I have been locked up, which we need to think about a little bit. It's like creation is thriving and we are not. And we need to explore a little bit of that. While most of us have discovered Zoom and Google Duo, FaceTime, and other forms of interaction online, most of us have realized there is no substitution for the presence of another individual. So I want you to underline or highlight the word presence. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I've spoken about before from Stanford, has made this comment. He said, all of life is intercourse. Your life is passing into me, and my life is passing into you. So when we think about the fact that the human being alive, transmits energy, that's why we sweat, that's why we feel body temperature, etc. You can't get that electronically. So the electronic interaction is great, but there's such a yearning with so many to literally feel being in the presence of another individual. And the odd part is, when we're out and about, if we walk up to a friend, it's this weird funkiness where all of a sudden we stop 6 to 8 feet out, and we're there. But the psyche of what we feel, where it's still a form of rejection. Now, rationally, we know it's not. It's steps that we need to take to social distance and maintain health and vitality. But nevertheless, this is a really, really messy time. The psalmist in Psalm 16, David says, Lord, you alone are my inheritance, my cup of blessing. You guard all that is mine. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of being with you forever. And the Hebrew word for the face of God is always also the presence of God. You and I were designed to be with one another. David also said, every day I call to you, my God, but you do not answer. Every night you hear my voice, but I find no relief. Psalm 22:2. Again, David says, I am overcome with joy because of your unfailing love. Then David says, I am losing all hope. I am paralyzed with fear. Psalm 143, verse 4. Bottom line is David is one big hot mess, like you and I, if we have the humility to admit this is not flakiness in David, because God said of David, you see this man's heart, you see my heart. God never calls us to a standard that's unrealistic. God understands the brokenness of humanity. And so he also says of David, here's a man that was perfect in every way except for one, he killed an innocent man. So going through the season we're going through, give yourself permission to be with your reality. There will be days where you'll be solid, and there will be days where you just have this flatness. Dallas Willard said, we come to God with the what is, as we are, not with how I should come to God, how I ought to come to God. In other words, what God values is the integrity of our what is. He does not value you and I trying hard to get it together. You and I pushing to be something we're not. We as people tend to do best with our routines. When there's a loss of routine, it's like pedaling a bike where the chain slips off. We lose our cadence, we lose our momentum. Thriving is all about momentum. Second word, momentum. Circulate, highlight, do whatever. So we've got presence, we've got momentum. In any investigation, like in law enforcement, for instance, whether or not a case gets solved often comes down to whether we can maintain momentum in the investigation. If a marriage is going to thrive, it is going to thrive because you maintain momentum. Lives that are alive are so because we maintain momentum. So when we hit these seasons like we have hit, where we're interrupted constantly and we're taken out of our routines, then it's hard to maintain momentum. So we need to look for what can I still have control over? How important are routines? How many of us in the morning, when we get ready to get dressed, always put the right sock on the right first foot? I mean, we have these little rituals in our head. We're almost these miniature little monks, where we have to do it a certain way or life's not going to work. The other thing that happens for we as people, historically, we've measured ourselves, our lives by what did you accomplish in the last 8 or 9 hours? What did you produce over the last 8 or 9 hours? We tend to be linear and sequential, if you would. And again, that's been interrupted. Now, what creation does, even though creation is in sync with time, creation measures its existence through being. In other words, a dog opens its senses up, and if something smells attractive to the dog, it will migrate towards that. If something stinks to a dog, typically they migrate away from the other direction. You and I typically, what we live from is a noodle between our ears, which so often is animated by our fallen imagination. In other words, the sensing feeling of an animal, of creation, they're accepting the what is. They're not freaking out because of what's going on. They're moving forward and sensing, feeling what it is to be alive. And you and I get stuck when we go, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. So there are rich opportunities around us to discover new things, to learn new things. Recently, Jacqueline and I and our oldest grandchild, Cade, went on a trip to Minnesota. One of the little things that was always a joy for me as a young guy in Minnesota, I'd lay in the backyard, and our backyard had a little hill to it. And in Minnesota, you get a lot of interesting weather in the summertime. But I loved looking at the big poofy clouds as they'd float around and imagine different shapes in the things. They just kind of like dance. And that's what Cade began to do. Hey, Cade, you see that dragon up there? And I tease him and goes, nah, I think that's a canoe, you know? And it was just the joy of imagination, if you would. If we look at the thriving of creation and we look at the disparity then that there's this global anxiety and depression that mankind is experiencing, we've got to begin to ask the question, what's driving a lot of this? And I'll spend most of next week working with that. But I want to get us to a couple other points. Number one, it's essential that we not remain passive to loss. So many people have their lives interrupted and they sit on the curb waiting for something to change. Passivity will kill us. We need to, number one, let go of what we think we know, because it doesn't matter, right? It's not working. Let go of thinking we have to be in control. Let go of wanting to know when this thing will end. Let go of not knowing. Let go of what has been your norm. Let go of wanting what yesterday was. Let go of craving yesterday's routine. Let go and let God show up when they're ready to show up. Let go and let God lead or not lead in our lives. Let go and let God be God. You see, really what we're saying is, come to the point of knowing and understanding that your life matters, you exist, and you have to let go of all of yesterday's paradigms because they're not necessarily available to you today. But there is a richness of discovery. There are opportunities, unhinged, off the charts. I'm hearing from all kinds of individuals that they're learning different things, whether it's sewing, whether it's bread making, whether it's gardening, etc. Yesterday will never exist as we've known it. So we have to have the courage, almost like Lewis and Clark, to say we're pioneering a new pathway. Things are going to change. And one of the key things that's going to happen once things lighten up is we're going to have to overcompensate the other direction by, feasting and celebrating and making noises and roaring and jumping out, because we're so programmed now to have this reticence of holding back, being super cautionary, super this, super that, etc., that if we try to ease back into life, it won't work. These ruts, these grooves in our mind have been cut too deep. Some individuals will never recover. And we need to have compassion for them. But there needs to be a strategy when we're on the other side and we have an opportunity to feast, to party. I believe it's one of the reasons God so frequently called Israel to celebrate with feasts and festivals. The Washington Post said this in May 26 in their edition: 33% of all Americans are exhibiting signs of clinical depression and anxiety. A Kaiser Family Foundation poll revealed that 45% of all Americans feel a significant negative effect on their mental health. The Barna Group reports 31% of all pastors are deeply disturbed and their well-being has dipped. Gallup poll states 37% of adults feel less connected to family and friends. And you see, that's not because we're not reaching out. It's not because we're not Zooming and doing all these other things. We're designed for the physical presence of one another. Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 12, verse 26, if one member suffers, we all suffer. We have this saying going on, right? We're all in it together. That's nothing more than sloppy sentimentality unless there's tangible behaviors behind that. So if you're going to bake something, bake more than you need and find someone to give it to. Be intentional with reaching out to be a blessing to someone. My desire is perhaps in this season, we might actually get and see how fragile life is. Perhaps we might live lives with less entitlement. Perhaps we might live lives with more gratitude, because gratitude is the only known substance to extend human life. And all around us, we can find things to be grateful for. But you've got to train the mind to anchor there, despite all the noise the brain wants to generate by way of distraction of yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Perhaps we might become more human and more compassionate. Perhaps we might use our time to linger with one another. Perhaps we might value creating more than producing. Perhaps we might turn even more intimately into the Trinity. Listen, when life gets messy, routines get interrupted, your life gets hijacked, the absolute key is acceptance. And we all naturally fight it. It's counterintuitive. But we don't accept in passivity. We don't accept in despair. We don't accept in resignation. We accept in anticipation. Third word, circle anticipation. Presence, momentum, anticipation. Why? If our God is a good God and he is for us, don't you think he understands how to bring beauty out of this? And perhaps that beauty is you and I would think of beauty. Because remember, God is not necessarily deeply invested in circumstances. Loving God and knowing God loves me does not mean he will always bring me better circumstances in my life. He is good, but he is not safe. And you and I, in those moments, will have to try to figure out, do I still want to walk with this guy called God or not? Or do I want to continue to try to mug him as a consumer? It's like, well, I love God as long as he comes through for me. We as the family of God, I don't believe have ever had a final hour for our dignity and our destiny manifested amongst us, to our community, and around us. When the world is suffering, shouldn't we be the balm? Shouldn't we be the safe places? Shouldn't we be the ones providing comfort and coming alongside with love and compassion and mercy? Shouldn't we be the ones leading the charge with sacrificing more than feels comfortable so that others would be blessed or others would care? I want you to dare to quiet your spirit. Dare to sit in stillness. Dare to believe that the Almighty One will breathe holy fire through you and upon you and unto our world around us. Let us not squander this opportunity, for truly it is. Life as we've known has been turned upside down, but not to the Trinity. They don't look at themselves, scratch their head, and go, I have no idea what to do. They are for us, and it is our call, we that name the name of Christ, to step it up and be the balm, to be the healing agents. 3 words, presence, momentum, and anticipation. Let's pray. Father, I pray that your heart would stir brothers and sisters in this little tribe, that you would rouse them to dare to believe in things that they've not thought they could believe in. God, that your spirit would flow in and through them, stirring up and causing them to have thoughts and ideas. And that when we're not enough, that we would rejoice in the fact that it's your move now, that you are more than enough. Bless those, Father, that are quaking with anxiety. Strengthen those that are struggling with despair. Let us be a flock of mercy and compassion, but let us also be a flock of exhortation. Let us stand and walk together, we pray in your name. Amen.
I tried so hard to see it. Took me so long to believe it. You choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve it. You take the broken things raise him to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. So let all the striving cease. This is my victory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I'm seated in the heavenly place. I'm defeated with the one who has conquered it all, it all, it all. When I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given